Thought of her as a gift, yeah.
So how did she come to you?
She was adopted. Out of the blue, I met a doctor at someone's house at a Christmas party, and he said, "I understand you want a baby." And I said, well, "Who doesn't?" And he said, "I have one coming the 1st of March. Come see me if you'd like to talk about it." And I did. So suddenly we were handed this baby.
And did you think you were ready for motherhood?
In theory, I thought I was ready for motherhood because I had not the slightest idea what was involved, you know. I mean, I didn't even think it didn't occur to me that it involved anything other than clothes, you know. I mean, I thought it involved little dresses. But obviously I had no real clue.
But it was the nature of your work that you just took Quintana with you everywhere, didn't you?
She was always with us. I mean, we simply, yeah, I can't think of any place that we didn't expect to just put her in the back seat and go.
So she saw a lot, traveled a lot.
Yeah. We were going to Vietnam at the time she was born. It didn't occur to me at first that that it wasn't going to be a smart idea to take her to Vietnam, you know. But we did. We didn't.
You didn't take her, but you could have.
We could have, definitely.
You also talked about the fact that she was worried and wanted to hear the narrative again and again. Tell me what happened. The phone rang. You went to get me. What if you'd not been in, but you were? And did that attend her, do you think, throughout her life?
I don't think that I gave it enough thought because it did not. I saw no reason why she should be insecure about being loved, being wanted. So it did not cross my mind that she could still be, and I think she was, yes.
But your narrative also was that you worried that she'd somehow be taken from you.
Yes.
Why? Why did you worry that?
Well, because I obviously I didn't think that I presume that it was, I worried that because I didn't think I deserved her. Mm-hmm. You know, you never think you deserve the perfect baby to be handed to you.
But she was.
But she was. I think first of Quintana sitting on the bare hardwood floors of the house on Franklin Avenue and the waxed terracotta tiles of the house in Malibu, listening to the birds on 8-track, the birds and the mamas and the papas, "Do you want to dance?" "I want to dance," she would croon back to the 8-track. I still hear her crooning back to the 8-track. "I want to dance." The same way I still see the stephanotis in her braid, plumeria tattoo through her veil. Something else I still see from that wedding day at St. John the Divine, the bright red soles on her shoes. She was wearing Christiane Louboutin shoes, pale satin with bright red soles. You saw the red soles when she kneeled at the altar.
Did you get the sense always that she was fragile?
No. I didn't. Or it didn't occur to me that she was as fragile as she was.
Do you think that fragility came from a kind of genetics when she eventually found her own family?
I think probably there was a genetic component, but none of us have any way of knowing that.
In the book, you talk about depths and shallows and quicksilver changes. Can you explain what you meant by that?
It's the most accurate way to describe her, the particular personality she had. She was always somewhere where you didn't. There was light on her that you didn't expect to see, or the light changed. Mm-hmm. She was different. You expected her to be doing one thing, and she was actually doing another. She was quixotic.
It's hard to get a handle on her.
Well, that's what I meant by quixotic.
Yeah.
It was very hard to get a handle on her.
Did you feel that you knew her?
No. I mean, I think didn't know the totality of her.
Did you feel also that you wanted to set things down for the record about Quintana?
Yes, I did. I mean, I wanted. It was kind of coming to my attention that I had treated her as a baby all of her life. You know, that I had been not as aware as I should have been of how sensitive and smart she was. I had thought and I wanted to. So I wanted to say I'm sorry. This, you know.
Mm-hmm. So this book is about saying you're sorry to your daughter.
Yes.
But aren't you just being a little hard on yourself?
Well, I don't know anybody who's lost a child who isn't hard on himself. I mean, if there's anything that causes you to have reason to be hard on yourself, there it is.
But in the end, it was an illness that couldn't have been prevented, could it?
No. No. I no longer value this kind of memento. I no longer want reminders of what was, what got broken, what got lost, what got wasted. There was a period, a long period, dating from my childhood until quite recently, when I thought I did. A period during which I believed that I could keep people fully present, keep them with me by preserving their mementos, their things, their totems. The detritus of this misplaced belief now fills the drawers and closets of my apartment in New York. There is no drawer I can open without seeing something I do not want on reflection to see. There is no closet I can open with room left for the clothes I might actually want to wear. In one closet that might otherwise be put to such use, I see instead 3 old Burberry raincoats of John's, a suede jacket given to Quintana by the mother of her first boyfriend, and an Angora cape long since moth-eaten given to my mother by my father not long after World War II. In another closet I find a chest of drawers and perilously stacked assortment of boxes. I open a box. I find photographs taken by my grandfather when he was a mining engineer in the Sierra Nevada. In another of the boxes I find the scraps of lace and embroidery that my mother had salvaged from her own mother's boxes of mementos.
You have so much around you. You have wonderful pictures of yourself and your husband and Quintana. You have things of hers probably still.
I do.
But do you look at them anymore?
I look at them because they're right there in front of me. But I don't expect to find an answer in them anymore.
Or comfort in them anymore.
Or comfort, yeah. I mean, I used to imagine that that keeping those little family memories around me would continue to be a solace. But they don't actually.
But if you look back at your role as a wife, a mother, a writer,
I think oddly enough, I think that I was a better wife and mother. I used to think I was a better writer, and I used to think that I was totally focused on writing, and then at some point I stopped and I started focusing on, when I was no longer a wife and mother, I started focusing on that to a much stronger degree.
So on reflection, you were a better wife and mother than you thought you were?
Yes.
Isn't that a good thing?
That's a good thing.
Joan Didion, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Susan, I mean, what I felt from that was she was incredibly conflicted, but the main thing was that she wanted to apologise to Quintana.
Yes, that came over very strongly. I think it's a very, very strange book. I mean, she had these, this is a woman in acute grief, and grief makes us all solipsistic. And she's written one remarkable book, The Year of Magical Thinking, about the death of her husband in that same year in which her daughter died. And there, the self-concern becomes a real account of her own world, which she enters into, which has its own logic, which is not the logic of rationality. Here, there's a very different movement to the book. The book moves from Quintana's death to her life, to the account of her adoption, to the tumult that, considering that, brings in Didion's mind, all the way through to the tumult growing of her ageing. But it seems in the end to be uncomfortably about her. There's something very solipsistic about this book and very unenlightening for all its honesty.
Do you think there is a lot more pain than's on the page? It seemed to me that you had to read between the lines a lot of the time.
Yeah, I do. I think your interview, as a matter of fact, is better than the book, without a doubt. I mean, you hear her talk. The book seems terribly precious to me, and the way in which sort of culture is shown off. To Quintana as a bedtime read when she's tiny, she reads T.S. Eliot's New Hampshire, come on, and their search for some quotation from Levi-Strauss about the tropics. He says that the tropics are not exotic, they're only out of date. Well, come on, what does it mean? I mean, all these droppings of glamorous friends, Tony Richardson, who filled the house with light and parrots and whippets. Oh, how glamorous, you know. I mean, all of that is...
But then the dreadful death, of course.
Death of the daughter.
Of the daughter as well.
But I mean, that precious side is
daughter,
eliminated when she talks face to face.
In a sense, do you think we know her better than she does herself, what we seem to be saying?
Everyone's going to talk nonsense about the honesty of this book. And Didion knows perfectly well that writers sell everybody out, that what they're making is a text. And it is a wonderfully light, shimmering, complicated, elegant stylistic effort. But you do know that you're not being told things. She feels guilty about Quintana's death. Why? Why? Because Quintana was diagnosed as obsessive compulsive, borderline personality disorder. Who is doing all this to her? She appears like a designer accessory, this child. Yeah. And they keep wanting the child to fit into their life in a particular way, but she's actually not being allowed to exist. There's a dreadful sentence where she says she brought her home in a silk-lined cashmere wrap. Strangle her.
Drita.
I don't know. I mean, I found the book touching in some respects. One of the things I did really appreciate was that when she did talk about her daughter's life wasn't just filtered through her mental health issues. Because very often we have stories where people have mental health issues, that's how we see them.
But she wouldn't even admit they were there.
But I think she did in the book. And I think the thing is, particularly as, you know, I've recently been through a very kind of traumatic experience myself and people in my family. And we all deal with grief in a very, very different way, really. So I can say we might be saying she might not be honest. But maybe this is her way of dealing with grief.
I thought she did explore. We did get a sense of what Quintana was like as a little girl, because she was clearly clever and funny, and goes to a hotel with her mother and father and talks to the screenwriter about deals. But kids pick up the stuff. And I thought that was lovely.
She picks up all that.
But there are some other absences from this book, and one of those is the other people who are actually looking after Quintana from day to day. There's one walk-on part for one Spanish-speaking housekeeper who yells snake and grabs the child away, and Didion immediately says, of course there was no snake. And it's the only walk-on part for the many domestic staff that there clearly were all round, who were obviously a substantial part of Quintana's life.
But do you think books can convey loss? I'm thinking of Blake Morrison's book about his father, which was so illuminating about his relationship with his father. There are books that can convey a sense of loss. Do you
Chris
think
Reed's poems about his wife, of course, Actually, Quintana does say some terribly sad things. A line she says, I want to be in the ground and just sleep. But at what age she says that and when it happens, you don't know. And you don't know actually much about Quintana from the time she's a child.
No, but memory is unreliable, of course.
Yeah, but one of the things that Didion wants you to believe about her is that she showed signs of disturbance from a very early age.
Yes.
So what she's saying is, it wasn't my fault, we couldn't do anything about it, we'll never know, da-da-da. And also, she actually died of hospital infections because she'd had so much medical treatment. So she's not going to discuss that, because 5 will get you 10. There's $1 billion court case in the offing.
We don't know that, though, Germaine, do we?
I said 5 will get you 10. It's a bet.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you very much talking about Joan Didion's Blue Night. Now, Alexander Solzhenitsyn's One Lay in the Life of Ivan Desanovich